sometimes these ideas on the progressive side is, well, we're all just sort of victims to this systemic oppression, right? And wow, what do we do with that? Okay, say that's true. Now what? What are we going to do about it? Is there anything we can do? Or are we just going to sit here and just stay stuck because, well, this is my skin color and therefore I'm perpetually oppressed. Part of what I do in the sex offender work is when we look back and we really pay attention to what were those risk factors that led to your offending. These aren't excuses for your offense behavior, but they are explanations for some of the behaviors, and they don't let you off the hook. But the great thing about doing that is that if someone's like, well, this just happened to me. I was just chatting online with someone who I thought was of age. Turns out they weren't. We sent pictures back and forth. Now I have child sex abuse materials on my computer. Now I'm on a sex offender registry, and my life is blown up. Right? Well, if it just happened to you the first time, and we don't really dig into where you stepped out of line and what sort of safeguards you didn't have in place, well, then that's a very powerless place to be, because then it can
Mm.
just happen to you again. And I don't know anybody who wants to go back to prison or wants to be charged again in something like this. And so I really like to dig into okay, well, you can say that it just happened to you, but man, I'd be really worried that it could happen to you again.
That's so interesting that you put it that way. William Glasser, who came up with reality therapy, which is where I got the name for this podcast, he has this concept of, if you focus on what you can control, that's how you can make progress in your life. Like that becomes empowering. And when you think of so much of the social justice messaging, it's, you're a victim of the system and there's nothing you can really do to control it outside of completely overthrowing the system. But you're talking about, like, by focusing on what is in your area of control, that's a very empowering message. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I come at that from that angle all the time, because that's, you're not going to change what your husband does or doesn't do. When talking to someone who's frustrated in their marriage or in any sort of relationship, you don't have power over that person or what they say, do, think about you, their perceptions necessarily. Your power and control is, how do I speak to this person? How do I relate to them? How do I make sure I'm doing what I can to meet their needs in the relationship, in a healthy way? That's so much more empowering, because we all own a piece of how our relationships go in one way or another. And we're it's so you're so powerless when you try to control others and how they think and feel.
Mm.
You're not going to go anywhere with that.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you used a minute ago, you used the word justice. And that's one of the words in this phrase, social justice, that we hear so much. But you're
Right.
using it in a very different way, because kind of the assumption with a lot of social justice is, with the crime and punishment stuff, you have to be very lenient. We want more people out of jail and prison. We want more lenient sentences. And you're saying that there's actually some type of compassion in sentencing people. Is that right?
Well, certainly, I'm always going to want to protect children. I mean, I think we all should as a society. Our most vulnerable deserve protection. And if someone hurts a child or anyone else, there needs to be justice. There needs to be some sort of penalty for that behavior. And that's not to say that we can't have compassion for that person and try to work with them at some point to move forward in a way that's healthy. But I think of, some, not to shift too much, but people talking about, it's so cruel that we're deporting people in our country. Well, I can have compassion for someone in the way that, well, that will feel disruptive for their life if they're, sent back to their country of origin, or they're separated from family members that maybe are here, and have obtained citizenship. I can lean into how that would be sad and disruptive for them. I can also, on the other side of that, understand, man, we're a country of laws. Every country has borders. Every country has immigration rules that you have to abide by in order to be in their country. Whenever I travel, we have to fill out paperwork if we, go to a different country and kind of let them know how long are we here. And there's limits to that, and that's just part of um, a civil society, really. And we have so many people who have been impacted negatively by people here illegally and haven't felt like there's been justice. Whether it's these horrible situations where we see these women, certainly raped and murdered, that's terrible, horrible. We had a young woman here in the Omaha area killed by a drunk driver who then fled the country. He was here illegally. Just horrible situations for these families. And then, less horrific, but still super disruptive to lives we had, I think it was a meatpacking plant or something that was raided for Immigration Customs Enforcement. And they had just a long list of people that were using other credentials like social security numbers to work illegally. And so that's the identity theft side of things, that it takes months, maybe years for these people to clean up their
Mm.
credit or whatever it is. They can't file their tax return because someone else already filed the tax return for the company they're working for illegally. It's just so many messes. And I have compassion for those people whose lives were disruptive, and they're just here living their lives as citizens. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
It makes a ton of sense. And I feel like the way it's framed so often is this is like a racist issue. The only reason you would oppose unlimited immigration is you must be just like profoundly depraved and racist in your heart or something. And the reality is, I think it was a majority of Hispanic voters voted for Donald Trump in the last election.
Oh, is that
And
right?
I have so many friends from Mexico. I'm in Texas here, so we have a lot of people from
Mhm.
Mexico here. My friend Ricardo, who grew up in Mexico, he was like, I came here the right way and I did things legally. I don't understand like why you have to protect people who are not doing things the right way.
Certainly. And there are people still in line waiting
Mm.
for their citizenship and their hearings. And the process, I 100% agree with those who think that we need to reform it, because I do want to reward people who are coming here and doing it the right way and contributing to our society, which we all know people who I think anyway. I know several people who are immigrants, not all from Hispanic countries. Some are, but people from all over the world that want to come here because there is great opportunity here, and they want to be Americans. They want to be part of our United States and contribute and just live their lives and help their families have the best experience they can. That's wonderful. And I think it's safe to say we're one of the most generous countries in the world when it comes to taking uh, immigrants and allowing people to come here. And I feel for people who are doing it the right way, and people are cutting in line and just bucking the whole system. I don't think that's fair.
There's a huge elephant in the room, this question that I feel like doesn't get asked very much, but really deserves to be kind of at the forefront of this immigration discussion. And that is, if America is such a horrible dystopian hellhole of racist oppression and just nonstop bigotry and prejudice, why are so many people beating down our doors to come here?
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Talking out both sides of their mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people who are saying they want to leave, and they say it, but I don't know that they ever do.
Yeah. I mean, there's all these celebrities who, for like the past, 5 elections or however many, "Well, if we lose, I'm going to Canada." They're still
Right.
here.
Well,
So,
Canada has immigration laws too.
yeah.
So good luck with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.